Hello and welcome to this week's and last week's vlog. I say that because I didn't do one last week. With one thing and another, it was sort of the lead up to Christmas and it had been my birthday as well. And it was kind of Saturday before I realised it. So I felt really bad, but not bad enough to do one. So anyway, this week is last week's as well. And I thought I'd do it in front of the Christmas tree to be a bit festive and a change of scenery from the normal place that I do it in. So there we go. So picking up from the last one that I did, where I've been unhappy with my long swim that I've been doing, I've done a couple more since then where I've kind of looked at what I did and realised why I'd been unhappy, which was basically because the pace wasn't what I thought it ought to be. But I hadn't actually given myself a pace, I'd just given myself a time to swim in. So I went back to that, just literally saying I'm getting in for an hour and a half or for 2 hours and getting out again. And I'm much happier. I think it's one of those things where I just put so much pressure on myself to sort of achieve something every time that I'd forgotten that the basic of that particular swimming session was just to swim for a particular length of time. So I've gone back to that and it's all great again. Looking back though, I did kind of think about how I felt about it and I was so unhappy with myself. It then ruined that whole week for me. So I kind of then was looking at drawing sort of from other people who were inspirational or who'd had some kind of problems in their life or sort of drawn strength from something. And last week I came across, this week actually, somebody I know on Twitter sent me a link to a podcast which was a lady called Kim Chambers. Kim swims now. Kim has swum the Ocean 7, which is a remarkable feat. She's one of only 6 people to do that. And she came about swimming from an accident, which basically she nearly lost her leg. And it was through rehabilitation that she started swimming and then went on to achieve all of the things she's done. I mean, she's done a lot of other things like Alcatraz as well, which I would really love to do Alcatraz, but I'm so scared that there's sharks in there. And I'm sure I'd be okay. But just the thought of it, I mean, I have to say it was on my bucket list, but then the irony of that is that I might not get out alive. So I really would like to do Alcatraz and I will do it. But this lady, Kim, lives in San Francisco, so she swims in that bay all of the time. So I listened to her podcast this week and truly she is a remarkable lady. And what was lovely as well is she also talked about the fact that she gets in the water and actually she is scared of everything that's in there, which I'm literally scared of a twig that floats past me. It makes me jump. So it was quite refreshing to listen to somebody who's achieved so much and is still scared and still jumps at things in the water, which was really lovely to know that it's not just me. Because I always imagine that all these people that do all these great things are just formidable and just get on with it and nothing gooses them, unlike me. But it was quite nice to sort of say, actually, she's achieved all this and she still has, during the swims and everything, still had those doubts and those ups and downs and those moments where she felt she couldn't go on, or it was like she just said, it would be so easy to just reach out and touch the boat and then the pain would have gone. And I thought, crikey, if people sort of, you can still be human and feel like that and still achieve great things. So it gave me a lot of hope that there's going to be times when this is going to hurt. Not, I think, at all like her swims do, but I think, do you know what, actually, you've got to kind of look at what people are capable of achieving and get on with it, really. So I felt really inspired by listening to it. And I urge, if I've attached a link to the intro on this, so you can have a listen yourself. It's really lovely. So onwards to this week. I've had a great week. I've done a couple of endurance swims that have been really tough and really long. One of them I had to cut short a bit. I had a bit of a pain in my chest here. It was just where it was just pulling a little bit, and I didn't want to risk an injury, because the last thing I need is to get to this point and then have an injury and then be off for even a week or 2 weeks would just put me back, which is where I can't afford it. So I just stopped short, spoke to coach about it, and I know it was the best thing to do, and I feel fine now. It was just one of those twitches that you get sometimes that I didn't want to risk. So apart from that, everything's gone fine. Coach has given me some shorter sets to do now, because with it being Christmas, the pool's not going to be open quite as much as it is under normal times. I know already that it's opening a bit later and closing a bit earlier, so that I've got to kind of tweak my times. But he's given me some shorter sets, which I did one yesterday. God, it was brutal. It may be short, but it was really difficult. It was so fast and so pacey. I loved it. But it was so different. I've been used to doing some really long endurance swims with him now, so it was a bit of a shock, really. I had to go out and have a coffee, which actually, now I think about it, I do that anyway. But it really, it was a bit like, oh my goodness, it really took me by surprise. But it was good to mix it up a bit. So I'm looking forward to doing some shorter ones that will mean I'm not in as long. So that's great. And last night was the guys in my swim family that I swim with at Hatfield. It was their Christmas bash last night. So we have dinner, and then he does a few speeches, and then people there they do some awards where people are recognised for their achievements over the years. Sorry, over this last year, and there was some great certificates given out, and some of the certificates are for a bit of fun. For example, my swim buddy Shark, she was given a certificate for I don't know the title of it, but basically, if your swim cap goes the furthest away from Doncaster, which is where we swim, you're awarded something for the best swim cap going wherever it was. And she's just recently returned from Australia, and she was out there, and she'd basically taken her swim cap, because obviously she's been swimming while she's been out there, and she sort of gave photographic evidence that's where she was, and she won this certificate for that. So there's lots of serious certificates and awards that go out, but there were also some fun ones as well. And I was delighted that after 2 years I am still the reigning champion. This is my certificate from 2 years ago of dive of the year. So nobody has had a certificate for really bad dive since then. So whilst on one hand the dive really hurt and was really embarrassing, and I mean I made a lot of people laugh because of it, and I was I was just dead embarrassed, and it was just awful. I'm really glad now that I've got this certificate. Nobody else has done a really bad dive since, so I'm delighted to still have that. But yeah, I'm still to put it in a frame, which I should do really, and like maybe have it on the mantelpiece or something. So that was a great, lovely night to catch up with loads of really lovely people, and my coach was there as well. And actually, when I walked in, the first thing he instructed me was, he basically said, drinking is not part of your training. And actually, he's right, I was driving anyway, so it was fine, because it takes like an hour to get there, so there's no way I was gonna either get a taxi or rely on somebody else. So I'd driven anyway, so it was okay. But it was like, there's no rest for the wicked. So that was last night, which was really good. And actually, I got home quite early, so I had an early start for today's swimming, which was, again, it was 2 miles of 100-metre sprints, which was tiring but good. So that was good. So all up to date now, and I'll see you next week. And in the meantime, have a lovely, lovely Christmas.